And hello once again. We are back here on Living in the 21st Century. Joining me today is Director for CEDFOB, Cathryn Laduke. Cathryn, it's a pleasure to have you on today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. You know, you seems all free and loosened up since you would have migrated from out of Massachusetts to Florida. What's going on?
I did. So what's going on is we me and my family made this big change, and now that I just didn't expect to get a job and a place all at the same time after we had to move out of Boston. And I like it here so far. The environment's been pretty great.
That's beautiful. You know, you was back here in Massachusetts, and you found that things weren't as easygoing as you would expect them to be. What really is the difference that you just leave Massachusetts like in a short space of time and success start to follow you like you never imagined? What's the difference between Massachusetts and Florida?
Well, the difference between Massachusetts and Florida, Florida is a lot different when it comes to acceptance and inclusion, regardless of who you are and what type of disability you have. And when you explain your weaknesses to your employers, they want to help you improve that, not diminish it even more. I want you to make you feel more confident inside, which I really loved in being here. And, and people are a lot different. They're nice, and it's very diverse here too. So between Massachusetts and Florida, there's a diverse group of people. But Massachusetts, on the other hand, it's a lot more competitive, I should say. And they want you to have degrees that you can't really get or retrieve. And, sometimes they won't help you when you have a job. When you land a job, it's they'll leave you to it after they just train you for a certain amount of time. So as to Florida, they won't leave you, you know what I mean? With the training. So it is a lot different.
Okay.
But what is the same between both is the diversity of the people that are in both states. So that's basically that.
Okay. Would you say, because of what you know experience, for disability people who exist here in Massachusetts, do you see any formation of prejudice against them opposed to what you would have experienced firsthand in Florida? Like, for example, you would have recognized you are overlooked here as a disabled person. In Florida, people want to work with you. What kind of word would you want to give people with disabilities an opportunity to look beyond the state of Massachusetts for help? Or should they remain in their present environment? How would you go about on that?
Well, how would I go about that issue? If people want to stay in their present environment, my only tip for them is to be strong when people pick on you or they try to demean your confidence in your ability to achieve things. There's a certain type of backbone that requires you to make it in Massachusetts.
Right.
And if you don't have that, it's impossible. But if anything, if people are losing hope and trying to find something in their present state, don't be afraid to go out there and find it. because you never know what people can offer you and offer you that time and chance to really show your skills. So, yep.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when I look at your nerve situation with Cowden's disease, it's a rare disease, okay. Normally, the symptoms and the problems you have are not necessarily physically appearing to others. For the average person, it's hard to tell that you have a serious disability that can be either life or death at any given time. There are those who, in that psychological pattern of mind, that would probably want to say, you know what, I had enough of this place. Lord, why can't I just die and leave everyone alone? Now, that is not really the humane way to think for any person, able or disabled. But there are those presently here in Massachusetts, and not just in Massachusetts, but throughout the entire United States and probably the world, so to speak, that they are in this psychological frame of mind that they think they are useless. They don't have any worth to society and probably would be better off dead. They need a word of inspiration. You are one of these inspirations right now. You've been through a lot based on what I've heard, Cathryn, and you overcome the odds. You rise above your disabilities. You're living a normal life. Looking at you now, no one would tell that you have a disability problem, and a serious disability problem. How will you speak to the hearts of those who need someone like you to refocus their mentality, to get them in a position where they rise above their present situation? How would you go about delivering a word of comfort to those people at this time?
So I'm going to say that, we are just like everybody else, but we're just beautifully and uniquely different. As I would say for that. And, we have the ability to rise above it if we have the ability to ignore the status quo of people looking at you and overthinking what you could think about a person with a disability that is trying to make it just like a normal person. So, just don't lose hope. Don't ever lose that hope and faith in yourself that you have the ability to succeed in this world. Because if you lose that, then you'll think to yourself, like, why am I here? Like, do I want to die? Like, I've always thought of that when I was in Massachusetts, that I wanted to die. I did. I'm admitting that on TV. It because it was hard to live my life back then, where I didn't really have a full happy life, but I have a family that supports me and keeps me going. So if you're not feeling happy, there is hope, and make sure you have a supportive group or family around you that's going to keep you going. Great. Because there is, don't resort to trying to kill yourself or say that you want to die, because that's not the case. It does get better. And I want people to know that it does. So.
And that's good. But, there are those who I know for a fact who would have worked in the healthcare industry for quite a bit of time. And I know that there are some of those who are disabled where families themselves don't even want to be a part of their lives because they think that they're going to become burdenous on them, that they are a liability. Then there are other rights that they're fighting for from government. They're depending solely on government to make things easier for them. And then when you know it, there's this law that are passed that gives you as a disabled person the choice whether you want to live or die. When you are faced with those critical situations in your life, where the government don't seems to be there for you. They're giving approval that you can take your life if you think it's not worth living. Then there are family members who abandon you. You solely depend on strangers to come and work for you. Some of them probably don't even treat you well. And there's no one really to complain to because the system is basically stacked against the real disabled. And I'm talking about those who are incapacitated to the point where they can actually do nothing for themselves. And they just step into that dark frame of mind where they would want to prefer die. What is your whole outlook on the approval of assisted suicide in this case?
My approval about it, like, I feel like if... Wait, what?
Well, okay, let me explain again. There are states that actually legitimately approve assisted suicide, which means if you are at a point in your life where you think you want to die because, not just because of a physical disability, but to the point or extent where no one cares about you, and that is what you clustered in your mind, it's okay to die. What is your view about this whole concept of assisted suicide? Do you think people has... Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, like my opinion about assisted suicide. Well, that is a pretty deep thing because, like, I really never heard that. Like, I've never seen people assist other people in committing suicide other than I see what I see on national TV. So what I think of it, it is murder. You're assisting someone in killing themselves, even though you're not doing it. They're personally doing it. So you're basically wanting to kill them in a sense. So I don't believe it's right.
Right. Because...
And they shouldn't encourage you that, then they're just as bad as the person. They're just as bad as you thinking that you want to die. Because if someone's going to encourage that, then that's pretty bad. So I don't approve of that at all. So
right. Exactly. Because at present, there are states who legitimately, and it is not called murder, even though I believe it's hardcore murder. They make it seem like, oh, we're going to assist you in helping you take your life. You just take this pill today or you take that pill tomorrow. And like,
I get that there's people who want to die because they have terminally ill cancer, which like brain cancer, pancreatic cancer, because I know there's assisted people who wanted to die. Because that I get, because they don't want to suffer. You know what I mean? Because there is places where they do assist you with killing yourself. But you shouldn't do that just because you don't want to live anymore. You know what I mean? Well, because then that would be murder.
But that's the whole point I'm making, because there are those who are not terminally ill, but there are those who are mentally ill, and they're better off think that if a person just want to die, well, that's my right. I'm going to die. I just need assistance in dying. My philosophy is that if you want to die, just go right ahead and die. No one should assist you for you to kill yourself. And I don't think no state should legally make it binding that a person has the right to end their life. That I don't think is a right approach.
No.
But it bothers me, and I agree with you with terminally ill people. And I don't really say it as assisted suicide. If you have a few days to live,
that's a different story.
You're going through some serious chronic pain, and you need a little bit of morphine, and go in increments until eventually everything dissolves and you finish. I wouldn't call that assisted suicide. You are dying. That's the reality, and you have just few days to live, and you're going to die. But on the other hand, there were those who were declared by doctors that they're going to live for like a couple of weeks or a couple of months and end up living for years. I had recently I had some members on my same program, who spoke of her mom, who the doctor declared she was going to die within a week or two, and she ended up living like 9 years longer, right? What do you view medical practitioners, or who do you view medical practitioners when they make a declaration that you're going to die, and very well you live much more years based on the time that they would have said you were going to live? Do you think it's right for a medical practitioner that declare that you're deaf before you die?
Well, they should do it when the person is dead. They shouldn't do it when they're still alive. And I don't really know how to answer that, but
Well, you answer it correctly. Go ahead.
that is my answer legitimately.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm not going to bore you down that line. Let us look at the more brighter times. So what is your immediate plans now that you have in mind? Now that you're in Florida, what are you going to do? I believe you have a whole new future ahead of you. What are the things you have in mind?
Well, the plans that I have in mind, that I'm still going to continue to work for this company, because this company has changed my life, to still like be that voice for people down there that need it. And, even though I'm far away, I hope people hear me and see me, and I'm there with them. So I'm still going to do that in the future. And I'm going to be learning how to drive. Like, it's been a while to, because I have to get my driver's license. So that's going to happen in the eventual future, and I'm going to be working.
Great.
So, I'm just starting to build a life for myself, and I'm going to be headed. I just transferred my care to the Moffitt Cancer Center, where they also have they have people who specialize in Cowdens. So that's where I've transferred my care to.
Beautiful.
So, so those are my plans.
Okay. Well, one of the other things I want to ask you, I know you were an established voice out there for the disabled. What are you going to do now that you are in Florida? Are you going to still amplify that voice for the disabled in mind?
Yes. Like, even in Florida, I can have the people in mind. Like, no matter if I'm like speaking to a camera for the people down back in Massachusetts and New England in general, because New England is where I grew up.
Right.
Like, they need it the most. But if people from Florida hear this, they're very much welcome to, if they're suffering from these problems in their lives. So.
Right. Okay. So how is your mom adjusting to everything? Because I know when she was here, and when you both were here actually, that there was some kind of strain, because she was there for you, and there's some things you could do for yourself, and now you're in this whole new atmosphere of independence. What atmosphere now would it be between you and your mom? Because you are now living for yourself. And bear in mind again, I like this atmosphere because you are still disabled, doesn't matter what. You no longer need that critical attention that your mom need. What really transformed things between now and then?
Well, okay. So this question is it is still a bit complicated, because but it's also not so complicated, because nothing has really changed the bond between me and my mother, because I'll always love my mom.
Right.
And I'll always go to her if I need advice on things, because she knows the way of the world, and I need to know more about the world in order to survive in it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not going to change. Like, I love my family, and I'm going to make sure that they help get me through this transition, because I am still transitioning, but I am doing pretty well in this.
Right.
And yeah, and nothing has changed, but only that I'm growing from it.
Right.
I'm more grown up from it than that I was being attached to the hip with my mother, because I've always lived with my mom my whole entire life.
Right.
But the thing is, like, if she has to take me to like medical procedures, that's a different story, because she has to.
Yes.
So, but nothing really has changed, but only I can't depend on her as much, but I can only depend on her for certain things, like advice and me going to medical procedures and work if she decides to, pick me up for work.
Correct. I can imagine the life for those who going through disabilities, right? There's always a form of transitioning as they move from one level to the next. What are the pros and cons that you would want to tell those people who are critically disabled while transitioning from one level to the next, negative or positive? What are some of the views you would like to share with those people? Because I want them to see a reflection of who you are, where you were, and where you at this juncture in your life. And there are many that, like yourself, may not be necessarily totally incapacitated, that may be able to do the same very things that you are doing. How would you go about counseling them or establishing that level of confidence beyond their physical disabilities?
Well, I shouldn't say there's any negatives or positives about, how you transition from certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But, only we can look to the brighter future at hand, because eventually the light is better on the other side, and you should take everything with confidence of being who you are as a disabled person.
Right.
Because you're blessed of what God gave you, a unique gift, and you show your unique gifts to the world, because that's what I believe, that God placed everyone on this earth for a unique reason. Mm-hmm. And we are all made different.
Right.
So, I don't really believe there's positives or negatives, but we always have things that we have to improve on. Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, we should just not care what anybody thinks about who we are, because if they do, that's a reflection upon who they are.
Yes.
It's not a reflection of who you are, mm-hmm. because they have an insecurity about them that they don't want to admit. Okay. And I've always been through that all my life when it comes to bullying, because mm-hmm. I was bullied all my life.
Right.
And a lot of people were so insecure, they would just look for someone to pick on. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of, it's growing and developing into the person you are, and you really learned to have a backbone to survive.
Right.
So
briefly,
it took me a lot of time.
I understand.
So.
Briefly, I will let you to speak to those who faced with the same Cowden's disease that you are faced with. Let your life be a clear example that they can live almost an absolute normal life.
There's no lifespan to it. As long as you keep an eye on it, mm-hmm. You really have a long lifespan. You can live past 60, mm-hmm. because Cowden's people, you don't live past 60 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But you can if you keep yourself healthy, because it's all a part with the management of that disease.
Right. Does it also include your frame of mind that takes you a long way also?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So just tell them you can go out there, live a normal life, have your own apartment, get some assistance from government. How would they go about getting that kind of help? Just like you did. Any specific places they should ask help from?
Well, start with your inner support system before you ask help from the government, because sometimes the government won't help you.
Okay.
They only will just provide you with the benefits that you already have, and then you run with it. But if you have a supportive family, they'll help you. And even if you have a supportive group of friends, if you don't have a supportive family, then things will fall into place for you. Things do.
Well, that sounds pretty great, Cathryn. We basically coming out to the ending of our program. We will definitely keep in touch.
Yes.
And enjoy your beautiful life out there in Florida. Keep it going.
And just let me know about the awards show, about me attending via Zoom.
Yes, definitely. I will keep you abreast of that. Well, thank you, Cathryn, for tuning in today. And for all those who had been viewing here on Living in the 21st Century, I want to say to you, have a blessed day. Take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.